Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2010 movie titled 22 Bullets. Please be advised that there might be spoilers ahead. In the opening scene, Charlie Mate and his son Anatol are bidding their goodbyes to Charlie's mother following a visit. Charlie, a retired mafia boss, now lives peacefully with his wife and 2 children. Only Anatol joined him on this excursion, and they enjoyed each other's company while listening to classical music on their way home, demonstrating Charlie's affection for his children. When the two return to the city, Anatol gets out of the car to watch a man and his goat perform tricks. Meanwhile, Charlie drives the car to an underground parking lot. He pulls into his position and sits for a while, enjoying the music, but as he steps out, a squad of 8 hitmen opens fire on him, pouring 22 bullets into Charlie before shooting his dog and fleeing, leaving Charlie in a shambles and nearly dead. Charlie somehow regains consciousness, leaving Anatol alone on the upper level. While lying there, Charlie recalls spending time in prison with a mafia leader named Padovano, who taught him everything he knows about the mafia life, and his message of always remaining vigilant resonates through Charlie's mind. Charlie is brought to the hospital. Meanwhile, Charlie's longtime friend and successor, Tony Zacchia, is concerned when he learns of Charlie's attack. News of the attack on Charlie, one of the final godfathers, spreads, and Detective Marie Goldman arrives at the still-active murder scene to investigate. While the surgeons work feverishly to remove Charlie's bullets, he recalls hearing of Padovano's assassination by his adversary Hernandez, who even attended the funeral. A young Charlie, together with Tony and another friend Aurelio, had intended to exact revenge on Hernandez. They rode down on Hernandez and his guys, with Tony acting as the rider, before Charlie viciously shot him to death. In the following scene, Charlie's second wife, Anatol's mother, arrive at the hospital with Charlie's daughter Eva to visit Charlie, who is healing. Marie travels to meet with the chief about Charlie's case. However, he believes that Charlie was a gangster, and that they should not hurry into an investigation. However, Marie believes in due procedure. The chief relents, telling her to question Charlie, although he doubts she'll gain any information from him. She and another officer go to meet with Charlie, but he just stares at her while she questions him. She tells him that his attackers may return to finish the job and asks for his assistance, but Charlie calls her close and says no. Charlie's lawyer then convinces them to leave before 2 of his old henchmen enter. Later, Marie at home with her son, who questions her about the death of his father, a former police officer. The inquiries shake Marie, but she assures her son that her father is in a better place, watching over them, even as tears stream down her face. Outside the hospital, Charlie's lawyer, Martin, and the former henchman, Karim, fight over what to do. Karim wants to launch an attack, but Martin reminds him that they have no idea who the assailants are. Karim relents, but cautions Martin not to leave Charlie's side. Meanwhile, an assassin disguises himself as a doctor to infiltrate the hospital. He draws his gun and opens fire in Charlie's room. His henchwoman, Pat, had relocated Charlie to another room, and the assassin had murdered an innocent patient. Following that, Marie has her team set up surveillance in Charlie's room and the hospital. A day later, Tony arrives at the hospital with his guys carrying flowers and making their way to his room. While his guys remain outside, Tony enters to chat with his pal, relieved that he is looking better. He leaves Charlie with a picture of the patron saint of healing and a box of chocolates, promising to find out who did this to him. The doctor meets with Marie, lamenting Charlie's reluctance to undergo anesthesia due to his fear of removal. When he refuses to leave his room for an X-ray, they discover that he has a gun under his mattress. Martin then appears with his ailing wife and their daughter Eva, blaring music upstairs. He walks into her room and asks her to turn it down, but Eva is crying in her bed. Martin holds her and tells her not to cry, but Eva is heartbroken over her father. Eva believes her father has lied about being a member of the mafia and doesn't care about her or her mother. Charlie in the hospital stabs himself in the hand with a fork, displaying his inability to feel anything. The doctor informs him that severing the injured nerve would prevent him from using his right arm. His mother tells him that God saved his life so he might change it, and she makes him pledge that she will die before him. Marie and her partner investigating Charlie's attack and suspect a jail crook named Pistachio. She meets with him and accuses him of arranging the hit, but Pistachio denies any involvement and refuses to speak. Kareem discovers a man boasting about the hit, and he and Martin inform Charlie. The three leave the hospital in a car, but Marie and her men start following them. Kareem realizes they're being followed, and a high-speed chase follows. However, Kareem calls in a favor, and a car blocks Marie's path. The three men arrive at an old warehouse, where Pat poisoned the target and shackled his feet in concrete. The man's name is Frederick, and Charlie pledges not to hurt him if he speaks the truth. Frederick turns out to be one of Tony's associates, and while under the influence of the drugs, he exposed Tony and identified 7 individuals involved in the attack. Charlie seeks to understand why, and he learns that when he sold his business to Tony, his condition was not unexpected. However, Tony viewed the blow as an opportunity and partnered with Pistachio. He was afraid of Charlie's reaction and decided to punch him first. Charlie becomes enraged when he hears this, but instructs Kareem not to do anything. Kareem believes Frederick will inform Tony, but Charlie cannot bring himself to start a conflict with his former closest friend and orders Frederick to return home. They then return Charlie to his house, reunited with his wife and 2 children. Marie appears but does not interrupt. Kareem arrives home to share dinner with his family. After supper, he is about to leave when a black van pulls up and kidnaps him. The men take Kareem to a secluded spot and violently beat him. Frederick had ratted him out to the men, and they let him finish Kareem off before shooting him. One man then informs Kareem that Tony has a message for Charlie, before killing him. The following day, Charlie's wife receives a parcel containing a mutilated part of Kareem. Charlie attends Kareem's funeral shortly afterwards. As the men pray, the women stand away in tears, and Pat looks dismal. While Tony's soldiers celebrate their attack, Charlie watches the suffering of everyone around him, especially Kareem's father. He hugs his family before instructing Pat to take care of them. While the men continue their partying, one of them, Pascal, begins to mock Tony's stammer and his frequent reprimands for smoking in his house. Suddenly, Charlie ambushes them with a live grenade and a rifle. He orders each of the men to disarm themselves before the maid dumps the firearms into the tank. He makes certain that each man understands who he is. He will not kill them right now, but he wants them to be concerned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because he will appear unexpectedly. As of right now, Charlie recognizes one of his shooters as Bastian, tells him he is first in line, and shoots him. 6 months later, Eva is fed up with living in hiding with her stepmother, and asks to return home to be with her dying mother. Pat reminds Eva about the frightening nature of the men, but her grandmother's arrival completely calms her down. When Charlie appears, one of Bastian's friends arrives to place flowers on his grave, telling him about the good times they spent together. Charlie shoots the man dead immediately, despite his claim that he was only following orders. A few days later, Marie goes to meet Tony, and outside, a man plants a tracker under her car. When Marie questions him about his men's deaths, Tony suspects Charlie, but he lies, claiming that Charlie has always been jealous of him. Tony recommends that he and Marie become friends and work together, even admitting that he is aware that she has a son, but Marie refuses to collaborate with the criminal. Tony's men then break into Martin's flat, wreck it, and set off a concussive explosion. Martin returns home soon after and notices the mess. He flees from the apartment, but one of Tony's men pursues him and contacts the gang. Martin pays Tony a visit at his seaside retreat. Charlie cautions Martin about his visit, but Martin maintains his belief that no one was following him. Martin tells him about Tony's attacks on their various businesses and houses, but Charlie realizes Tony's men have located them. Charlie hands Martin a gun and instructs him to flee to the speedboat. Meanwhile, a shootout breaks out between Charlie and the men. Martin makes it to the boat, but the men unleash dogs, who swiftly catch up with him and corner him. Meanwhile, the men are smashing apart Charlie's house, but Charlie manages to escape on a motorcycle. The men chase Charlie and open fire on him, but he manages to remain ahead. The chase takes Charlie into the city, where he strategically crashes into a police car, leading the authorities to surround him and save him from his attackers. Tony hauls Martin before him, threatening to forget their old friendship if he doesn't give up Charlie. Marie takes Charlie before her, accusing him of killing Tony's men and threatening others, to which Charlie responds that he is unable to use his arm. She then explains that one of the 8 attackers was not aiming to murder him that day and had purposefully missed him, but Charlie dismisses this information. Marie must release Charlie despite her misgivings. A few days later, Charlie fatally shoots one of the 8 while walking his elderly mother in the park. Frank, another of the 8, is walking out with his dogs when Charlie approaches and shoots him in the foot. When Frank refuses to provide information, Charlie shoots him in the other foot. The victim begs for an ambulance, but Charlie wants to know who was the 8th attacker in the parking lot. Tony, who is attending a wedding, learns of Frank's disappearance and sends his men to find him. Meanwhile, Frank denies knowing who the 8th man was because he has never seen his face, but Charlie doesn't believe him. Frank begs him not to shoot and offers to provide information about Tony. Frank then enters the mafia's computers and presents Charlie with all of Tony's black market transactions and relationships. Meanwhile, Tony's man arrives at the scene and, noticing Frank's empty van, draws his gun. The dogs start barking, alerting Charlie. The two exchange gunfire, but Charlie manages to hit the attacker. Frank has, so Charlie grabs the flash drive before locating him. Outside, the injured guy summons Tony, who gathers his men before setting out. Frank begs Charlie not to shoot him, telling him about his daughter and crying because he wants to see her again. He shows Charlie a toy that he claims belongs to his daughter, but Charlie discovers illicit drugs inside. Frank asks Charlie for forgiveness, and he receives it along with 2 rounds that murder him. Tony arrives at the location and throws a fit because he has lost Charlie again. He then instructs his goons to find Charlie and eradicate his entire family. The groom from the wedding, who is also one of Tony's men, is driving home when he comes across a car blocking the road. He rushes out to dispute the situation, but 2 quick shots knock him down. Marie analyzes the gun from the incident and finds Charlie's fingerprint on it. Charlie goes to meet Martin in a cop-infested tavern. He is aware that Tony is attempting to frame him for hits in order to draw police attention to himself. He hands Martin the flash drive, instructing him to make a copy and deliver one to Aurelio. Marie is disputing with her supervisor, questioning whether Charlie was responsible for the recent hit. However, the captain merely wants Charlie to be arrested and asks Marie to prepare a warrant. When she realizes that Charlie has a boy who goes to school, she proceeds to sit and drink alone in her car, confident that if they can find Anatol, they will also find Charlie. The next day, Pat picks up Anatol from school, unknowing that Marie and her companion are following them. Pat then picks up Eva, but shortly a scarlet car cuts them off. Suddenly, a van pulls up, and the men open fire, instantly killing Pat. Marie and her companion attempt to confront the guys, but their guns are too powerful, and the attackers capture Anatol and Eva. A few hours later, the police were able to rescue Eva, but Anatol remained. She then warns them that if Charlie does not submit, the guys will kill Anatol. Marie returns to her car when Charlie arrives. He tells her that Tony killed her husband, and if she does not aid him, he would kill Anatol as well. He wants her to reveal Charlie's capture, so Tony can lower his guard and approach Anatol. Marie is skeptical, but Charlie offers to submit himself to the police later. Marie accepts, recognizing Charlie's devotion. Tony learns about Anatol's capture and tells his men to look after him. One man believes they have gone too far, but Tony is resolute and orders Aurelio's execution. Charlie notices Pascal leave Tony's apartment and begins to pursue him. Charlie approaches a secluded building surrounded by fences and breaks in. He struggles against the barbed wires to reach his son. Meanwhile, Pascal instructs his underling to kill Anatol, but the young man believes this is too cruel. Pascal threatens to stab him if he doesn't cooperate, but as he turns away, the man knocks him overhead with a shovel and flees. The man attempts to rescue Anatol, but Pascal recovers and stabs him, killing him. Pascal then grabs Anatol and takes him to his car. Charlie spots him and leaps on his car, causing him to crash. Pascal jumps out and draws his knife. He starts chopping Charlie's right arm, but Charlie grabs him and punches him down before breaking his neck. Charlie pulls Anatol from the car, and the two hug in tears. Tony's men lost their lives in the raid on Aurelio. Aurelio is in critical condition, and the detective was able to recover a flash drive from his jacket. Tony, alone at home, experiences a terrible sensation and sets out to find his family. Charlie is there to ambush him and hold him at gunpoint. The two dispute about their respective life paths, and Tony is upset with Charlie for abandoning everything for a tranquil existence, as if he were superior to them. Tony instructs Charlie to get on with it. But Charlie hesitates and tries to kill his friend. Tony immediately flips the tables and points a gun at Charlie. He beats Charlie and tells him to beg for his life. When Charlie refuses, Tony pours hot water on his head. Before he can shoot Charlie, cops rush into the building, holding both men at gunpoint before arresting them. Martin arrives to pick up Charlie after his release from the police station. Charlie then directs Martin to drive to a specific spot. Martin drives, and they arrive at the parking garage where Charlie was attacked. Charlie then confesses that he knew Martin was the eighth shot. Martin then hesitantly confesses that Tony pushed him to accompany the men, and he was unaware that Charlie was the target. He reassures Charlie that he didn't shoot him, and begs for his life. Charlie then fires rounds next to him, informing him that they are now even. The film concludes with Charlie on the beach with his wife and children. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.